All right. Let's get this show on the road. Hello, everybody. Welcome to a very special Middle Earth March Madness results show. This is round one. Your vote, you've been voting all week long. Well, not all week. I think since Wednesday. Millions of votes have been coming in, and I don't even know what's happening, but we've got the keepers of the answers. So today what we're going to do is we're going to go through our entire 64 bracket first round Middle Earth March Madness. We're going to just go through all of the players, all of the teams, and then tell you who's winning each bracket based on your voting. I'm joined today by Jim Wirt, who's got the answers, who's got the results, and we'll go through them one by one. Garfa Mao is right at WonderCon. I saw you getting badges and stuff like that and preparing for our big badges. Panel. So we've got a big panel on Sunday, this Sunday. I think daily tickets are still available. WonderCon, of course, is in Anaheim, California, across the street from Disneyland. And I'm going to throw it to our co-host with the mostest, Kirsten Green Dragon, who's going to explain what's going to go on.
Yeah, hi, thanks, Justin. I can't believe it's this time of year again. It seems to roll around more quickly every year. And March Madness is always fun, always a different theme. We were bouncing back various different ideas for themes this year, but it seemed like the right time as we've all seen season one and we're wondering what will come out in season two. It seemed like the right time for a Rings of Power edition of Middle Earth March Madness. So Justin's right, we launched on Wednesday. Round two will launch tomorrow. There may be some other fun announcements going with the launch of round two tomorrow, but that's all I'm going to tell you about that right now. Just keep your eyes peeled tomorrow morning. And yeah, I think millions is a slight exaggeration, but for sure there have been thousands of votes cast since Wednesday, and it's always so fun to see people get behind this. You know, sometimes people kind of go, I don't understand, what's the math behind this? How do I decide who wins? Do I roll a die? I don't know. It's up to you. You can vote however you want to vote. You can vote on the character you liked the most. You can vote on the actor you liked the most. You can vote on the one you felt was closest to what Tolkien would have imagined. You can vote however you like. And it's been very, very fun seeing the votes come in. I'm being Team Balrog here today. I've got my Balrog.
Oh, here. Dang. Full representation there. Look at that. Waving the flag from the stands.
So we're going to see if the Balrog has beaten Celebrimbor. But I know that Mad Eye Gamgee Jim has some great graphics to lead us through. So let's make a start and see in our opening brackets who has been victorious.
Yeah, this is an eye chart that we posted on various social medias. This familiar kind of a tournament bracket, four different brackets, four different regions that we created, and we'll run through each one of these. For those of you that have voted, you've had a chance to really dig in to the various matchups, which we'll dive into. These brackets were interesting, and they kind of matched up with the geographic focus areas for the Rings of Power show. And so they involve mixes of races and even sort of light side, dark side, to borrow something from another franchise. So we'll dive in and start with the Elves, Dwarves, and Monsters bracket. I don't know if anybody has any general things. There were some interesting matchups here, and as Kirsten said, the Balrog, which came in at a number 9 seed, is really one of those Cinderella kind of characters here. There's a real chance the Balrog is going to go deep into this bracket and may even hit the final four. We'll see how that works.
I've got to say, I think that's the first time a Balrog has been compared to Cinderella.
That's true.
I don't think the slipper would fit though.
Mithril slippers for that.
This bracket has definitely got in it a lot of the favorite characters from Rings of Power. Maybe not the favorite. There's a character coming up in another bracket that certainly caught lots of people's imagination. But a lot of the most popular characters here are here, and the biggest numbers of votes for any single characters were all in this bracket.
That's right.
Hey, LSR has joined us. Hi, Josh.
Hey, how are we doing, guys?
I just
We're
like to
just-
see the family competitions, the fact that we've got kids and parents and grandparents up against
Right.
each other.
So folks may be interested to know that during the younger, Durin 4, as played by Owain Arthur, received the most single votes of any character across the whole of the first round of this. He was closely followed in second place by Elrond and in third place by Galadriel. So there's three most popular characters based on these votes were in this bracket.
That is true, and Deez is not that far behind. So this is if you like dwarves, this is your region. If you like kind of northern elves, we've got some more coming up in the Southlands, but
So so this is Varking's favorite bracket. Is that what you're saying?
probably so.
I
Probably
would
so.
think so.
Yeah, and so there are some real dwarven fans that I've seen on some of the socials making comments that the Durins are going to go far. Although it's possible that dad and son are going to get matched up in the next round. So here's
they can't both go very far.
That's true. That's true.
And
This
we are
bracket-
paying attention to the chat room. I see you, Tim and JG and everybody watching online. Thanks for joining us live. And yeah, tell us who you voted for in the chat, because we're going to share the results. You can't affect the vote now, as far as I know, right?
Has the vote closed?
The vote.
That would be a question for Kalasuri, and I believe it has. But if you want to sneak on in there, you might still be able to vote, because I don't know if he's actually shut it down yet.
I know there's something to do with a book fair.
We had a lot of votes. There were probably 2 or 3 that were really close. Other than that, unlikely that late breaking votes are going to change the tallies. They might change the percentages. So I'll show you that.
That's right. Nerd of the Rings in the chat room. Torn live on a Friday. Yes. Yeah, I'll send you the link if you want to join in, Matt, and debate who wins each of these battles. But let's get going, Jim.
So here, this is a classic 116. Probably not a lot of surprise on who's going to win this. And so Galadriel is indeed the winner of match 1 at a 95% of the vote. So that's going to be near the top, not quite the top of percentage votes, but no surprise here. Our number 1 seed in the bracket comes out on top. Any surprises there versus the other?
No. I looked at that and I went, "Oh, that poor guy."
Okay, so in contrast to that pretty determined vote at the front.
Not only is Kirsten holding up a banner for the Balrog, Tim Lenz in the chat room says, "Not gonna lie, I voted for Balrog over Celebrim Banner."
So we've got, and then we have a staffer, Nicole, or Rasputin, the evil Balrog, who cosplayed a Balrog showgirl and won a trip to New Zealand with that costume. So there's a lot of history of Balrog love in the Torn staff.
There is.
Now we preceded all of these brackets ahead of time. We had lots of folks on the Torn staff, and these two came in at 8, 9 seeds. So this is one of those head-to-head, pretty even matchups. Either one could win. But are you ready for the results?
Let's do it.
Is going on to
Wow!
56% of the vote. It was pretty close. 175 votes separated those two.
That was the difference? Wow.
That's definitely too close. That's definitely too close.
And I just watched the episode literally an hour ago with this scene, because I'm trying to catch up before WonderCon.
Excellent. So the Balrog is moving on and is going to go up head-to-head against Galadriel in the next round. We'll see that.
Who has the better hair, though? Celebrimbor or the Balrog?
Do Balrogs have hair?
I think they have a mohawk. Have you seen the Weta Workshop sculpture of Balrog? It's kind of like a mohawk of flame.
All right. The first of our family matchups. Durin versus his granddaughter, Gerda. This is about the only image we ever got of Gerda.
Do they name her
Yeah,
in the show.
Yeah. Having just rewatched it, it was the first time I was listening for it. I heard them say both names. So yes, they were
one of
both
my
named
favorite
out
lines.
loud.
Durin 4 says, "Get out of my head." So that was Gerda and Gamlin. So a 5 and a 12. Any predictions?
Daddy dearest or Grandpa dearest.
Yeah. Pretty clearly, 78% of the vote has Durin 3 moving on to round 2.
If there had been one more instance of the kids playing around, sometime in the show, it might have been a different outcome.
Right.
We just didn't see quite enough of them. We could hear them.
But
He's my favorite actor in the show. I loved him in Westworld. He played the dad in Westworld that buys the park at the early on, and he's one of my favorite actors. And I hope he does not get shortchanged in upcoming seasons. I really want him to have a big juicy thing.
Yeah, Peter Mullen is extraordinary. And I have to say, I mean, we love dwarves and they are great characters, but it is the strength of the actors in these roles as well, I think, that really sells it. So I think even if we had seen more of Gerda, I think Durin 3 has got to win this because Peter Mullen is just exceptional in this role.
Well, and again, as I was watching these episodes, the episode The Great Wave, which is the one where Prince Durin gets really, really mad after his dad wants to close down the chasm, and he's not going to speak to him. And Elrond talks about his dad and how he would give anything to be able to have a conversation with him. So Prince Durin goes and apologizes. And Dad's, in other words, it's a whole family dynamic. It's a total father-son on multiple levels. And I just love that dynamic between the two of them.
It's something generally that we haven't seen in Middle-earth that the Amazon series really probed into, where these family kind of dynamics, you see it.
Oh yeah, and you see it throughout all the races everywhere. You see the dynamic everywhere.
Which is pretty interesting to play those kinds of themes. Because most others, Aragorn is missing his family, Frodo doesn't have his family, etc. So in Rings of Power, we do.
Yeah, you're right. We don't get a whole lot of family except for Samwise Gamgee and Rosie.
All right, Durin 4 versus Rion. Rion, he kind of disappears after, I think, the second episode. Is
he on the ship? He's one of the guys on the ship, right?
He's the one in front.
Yeah.
He's in Galadriel's army in the first episode, and then he's near the front of the ship sailing into the west.
He reminds me of the covers of Lord of the Rings and Hobbit books of like the 80s.
Yeah, he does look very 80s. He reminds me of the actor Julian Sands, who was in Room with the View, and that's
who is still missing in the mountains here in LA.
I know, very
so that's Kip Chapman, I think is
it's Kip Chapman.
So I suspect that no one will be surprised at the outcome of this matchup. As Kirsten said, Durin 4 was our largest popular vote getter, highest percentage vote getter. He's clearly probably the number one. I don't know. He was only a number 4 seed, but man, is he looking strong. In this,
and I loved how people sort of looked at our brackets and instantly started choosing like who they thought the final 4 were. And I'm like, do you not know how brackets work? This is a region, so you can't have both Galadriel and Durin 4 come out of this region.
That's right. Or Elrond. So this is
this one's going to get hardcore.
All right.
The battles get hardcore in this next round for these.
Oh yeah.
We'll see in a second. Number 6, Gil-galad versus 11, Thondir. Thondir was another one of those elves in Galadriel's army. Another one on the boat sailing.
Oh yeah, he was the heavy protester.
Yes, that is correct.
I have to admit, I voted for Thondir in this match.
Well, you weren't the
only. I did too.
But there weren't enough of it. Only 15%.
I didn't think there would be. I knew I was safe voting for him.
But Gil-galad comes through with a strong showing at the number 6 seed. We'll see if he survives in the next round, but he at least passes on to the next 32. Here's another family matchup versus her son, Gamli.
Yeah.
Peace has got to take this easily. I mean,
yeah. Disa comes in strong at an 86% of that vote.
I'm surprised it was as close as that, to be honest with you. I'm surprised that Gamby managed to steal 14% of the vote away from their
But the
mother.
kids are so cute. That first time they come running out, it's just like, oh my God, this is awesome, freaking amazing.
But yes, Disa is a strong dwarven contender as well. Kirsten, your fate. I can't
My
believe.
fave.
Don't you have a Finrod flag back there somewhere?
I don't. Sadly, I don't. If I had a Finrod banner, I would be waving it like mad. I think Will Fletcher was just extraordinary in this role. I know people think I'm crazy because it's such a small role, but I thought he was so compelling in this role and really sold. And people have sort of mocked the lines about, do you know why whatever it is,
a rock and the rock of the ship
floats and the rock sinks, blah blah blah. But he, to me, is so compelling in the way that he delivers it. I absolutely believe it, and I believe that he's such a role model to Galadriel that his death would affect her so profoundly. So Will Fletcher gets a big vote from me, and therefore,
and of course, he turns completely upside down when Sauron puts his face on.
Yeah.
When Halbrand takes on his, and so she thinks she's talking to Finrod, and it's not. So all of a sudden, it skews. So it's great to see him playing two characters, basically.
Yeah, it was fun that Will Fletcher got to do that. At one of the press events, I said to him, I just think you're fabulous, and he's like, well, I can't tell you, but there's something coming. And I was like, oh, we're going to get to see him again. So that was cool when it came towards the end of the show.
And again, he was up against the worm, or this sea dragon, fish dragon. It's really hard to get a complete shot because it was all done mostly underwater, but you see a little bit of eyes and teeth on that. And no surprise, with 73% of the vote, Finrod moves.
I think enough people like the fact that there was a big sea monster, and we finally got to see what's out there in the Sundering Sea.
Yeah. And in fact, if you look at any of the maps,
I voted for Finrod, but I almost, for giggles, voted for the sea monster just because it was one of those. It was like, this thing has no chance. But
there's some interesting stuff. People have tried to figure out how big that sea monster is, and so fun stuff.
Oh, he was definitely Moby Dick.
And here's the last matchup in this region: Elves, Dwarves, and Monsters. Elrond versus the Ice Troll. I have seen some folks say Ice Troll all the way, but Ice Troll's up against Elrond in the first round. Number 2
Ice Troll was one of the first things we ever saw, sneak peek style, and one of the first leaks that we ever reported when someone had driven by a set in New Zealand and saw a big ice wall that was like 40 feet high, and then just a few weeks later it got leaked to us that they have an ice troll.
And remember, Justin, that John Howe showed us at one of the events his sketch for this ice troll.
Oh, that's right.
Spectacular. And then people kept going, oh God, that ice troll looks so terrible. It would be so much better if John Howe had designed it. And we were like,
well,
dudes.
I kind of love it, but I think we could also apply to this matchup Justin's question of who has better hair. I think Elrond is clinching it on the hair here, and that ice troll looks like he could do with a little defrosting in his hair there.
It definitely needs to be darker. It definitely needs to be darker. Blonde Elrond still kind of irritates me, I'm not gonna lie.
Fair enough.
Not only did he clinch the hair, he clinched the last matchup in this region. With
pretty strongly. Yeah. The next round's gonna hurt.
That's right. So with those results, here's what the next round looks like. Pretty tough. Galadriel against the Balrog. We got the Durins going up against one another. Elrond and Finrod, two classic. And
Galadriel's favorite brother and her best friend. Holy cow. Galadriel better not be voting on this one because
but this guy looks so cute. I mean, he's got little beady eyes. He just wants to be your friend. How could you vote against that?
He's gone, Justin. I'm sorry, he's gone.
One and done. But
the Balrog lives.
Yeah.
Although,
So
Well,
I'll be interested. I mean,
for
I'm
one more week.
personally rooting for Disa to come out on that, at least that
Yep.
corner over there. But yeah,
Galadriel
Durin and
versus
Durin,
Balrog is going to be a really, really tough one, isn't it?
that'll be tough.
I will be recruiting for votes for the Balrog. I no disrespect to Galadriel. I think she's awesome, and I think Morthith Clark did an amazing job as well. But I'm rooting for the Balrog. I should be recruiting votes. You can vote from tomorrow morning. Vote Balrog.
And to be clear, there you can vote on any standard that you want. So if the bottom if the Finrod Elrond competition is a battle for shampoo and conditioner, that is yours to decide.
that's that category. That's totally it. And if you're into beards, we obviously know which side you're going to go on.
And
Yeah, but
again,
even that's a tough call, isn't it? That like Durin versus Durin, who has the better beard, who wore it
Well,
better?
you know what? We do know Durin will win.
that's true.
Kaylin
It's
Griffin
the
in the
only
chat
race we
room.
can call right now.
Kay says, "I won't be voting for the evil creatures."
Ah, okay.
Is Balrog evil, or is he misunderstood?
Well, we'll be able to talk more about that in the Southlands bracket. That's
Yeah,
coming.
yeah. The next category's got a few of those.
So this is
The
this is-
baddies.
we seeded this bracket well, as you can tell. Other than the 8-9 seed, all of the other top seeds got through to the second round in this bracket.
Yeah.
So,
This bracket is ridiculously stacked. I mean, if you were, it's honestly, there's a lot of really good choices, and I have a special guest that's joining me. I don't know if you guys can see this. And I didn't want to show up, but I have my Balrog duck here. It does not want to show up with my background because I think.
What you do is you put it in front of your face.
Can you see it now?
No, is it in front of your face?
Yeah, it doesn't want to show
No,
up.
no, don't get out of the picture. Literally, or stand up so it's in front of your shirt.
Let's try that. Let's see if I can get this to actually show. Oh, there we go. Oh, it showed up for a second. There we go.
And it doesn't want. The Balrog isn't meant to be seen. This is kind of like that elf magic that protects Lothlorien.
Oh yeah.
The blue
Oh, yeah.
box. We're gonna
Well, the
open.
Balrog is fire and shadow, so right now he's just doing the shadow thing.
all right, let's move on to the Southlands and the Mordorians. This is an interesting bracket because it was a mixture of those.
A really big mixture, yeah.
Question, is Mordorians canon? Is that the proper term that Tolkien uses to describe people from Mordor?
No, I just
I
made it
don't
up.
think he ever bothered to describe people from
Well, I
Mordor.
don't-
Almost all of them were coming in from other places.
Exactly. There are no native Mordorians, just like there are no native Bermudians. You know, they're all brought in from elsewhere. So I think we're all right with Mordorians because they can be Uruk,
Should-
they can be...
Should we consider that? Should we call them Moors?
No,
No?
No, I think that would be a
No.
confusing.
no.
No,
That-
because
that's a
an already
historical
existing-
term.
Exactly, that's an already existing term that would confuse
Oh,
us.
that's right. Oh, yeah. That
Yeah,
yeah.
I think
Yeah,
Mordorians is
Because
good.
then you have to get those really elaborate tiled buildings, and that just doesn't exist in Mordor.
Now, one of the interesting things in this bracket is literally a quarter of the bracket is made up of named orcs or
Yeah.
Uruk. And we could have added one more. In fact, we found out that we used the wrong picture for one about midway through the contest.
That's
So-
right. That's right. We originally had a picture from of Lurker and
That's
and the actor who played that role, Robert, got in touch with us and said, "Hey, you know, I just think I should let you know." He was very sweet about it, and he was like, "But you got a picture of me there. That's my boy Lurker." So thank you, Robert Strange, for reaching out to us and letting us know that we had got the wrong picture there.
Indeed
That's-
true.
That's great. Hey, the chat room, Josh. The chat room says the fact that your thing keeps disappearing. Check his fingers. Make sure he doesn't have the one ring on.
There you go. All
My
right.
problem- Fortunately, my one ring is downstairs with the rest of my collection. He just happens to be upstairs.
Matchup 1, Southrons and Mordorians.
I think
Again,
there's a heavy hitter in this one that's just sort of like it's a no-brainer, but That's just my opinion.
It's a 1 seed. This is no competition here.
Yeah,
If
and
Arondir is going to get most of the votes, I would be shocked.
Treadwell was the guy that had the cow that was
The sick cow, yeah.
and then he actually shows up toward the end in one of the later episodes as trying to be part of the faithful and the Southlanders. But Adar is,
And he did have the most single votes in this
in this
category
bracket.
of the bracket. Yeah, in this part of the round. I actually was surprised that Gladriel, Elrond, and Durin all got more votes individually than Adar did, because for sure he is one of the most popular characters. And one of the most popular actors, who unfortunately, as we all know, won't be in the second season. But people love Adar and the way that he was created with all those shades of grey in him. So
If you were looking at the numbers, were there less votes in the overall baddies category? This whole region? I mean, I'm just wondering if maybe it was like a lot of people didn't want to vote for bad characters.
Well, yeah, some of the brackets had more votes than others, but he definitely was the most popular in this one by a long way.
I would be curious to see if we did this again, like Rings of Power characters after season 2 with the new actor. If the new actor's portrayal would impact how people feel about voting for this character, because I thought the guy that played the character did fantastic, and it was a really, really great character, a lot of depth to it. And when it came out that he was leaving the show, it was like, I mean, it was kind of shocking and disappointing because he had done such a fantastic job. But I'd be curious to see how people feel about the character when the actor is different in season 2.
Oh, there's Twitter. We'll know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, people definitely will post about it. But I'm just more thinking, like, voting, like, because you get attached to people playing a role and how they bring that character to life. I mean, you take any of the Lord of the Rings characters, take something that's been around a long time, like Indiana Jones. I mean, if you really like Harrison Ford, how he's played that role, to think about someone else playing that role really changes how you might feel about that character. So,
right.
Curious how that will play out.
Well, you're absolutely right, Josh. It will be interesting. The positive thing is that they have got an incredible roster of new cast coming into the show. Of course, we don't know who's going to be playing Adar, but I'm very sorry to see Joseph Moore go, but I also feel that there is the potential for someone else extraordinary to do something amazing with this character. So we might see the same love be transferred onto another actor. Who knows?
Right.
What's interesting about this character, he's kind of the best representation of the writers trying to do something more complex with orcs or Uruk characters.
Mm-hmm.
So, like we said before, we've seen a new opening of family-oriented dynamics. Here,
family and a funeral.
Yeah,
I mean, so that fallen orc that he dispatches, but the whole ceremony was like, wow. So they, you're right.
It was
culture.
Always ambiguous in what the origin of orcs were. And because the origin is connected to things like, do orcs have souls? Are they twisted versions of something that could have been good? Or are they, he literally has a version where they were inanimate. They were kind of animated dirt or rocks or those kinds of things. And it kept changing. So, but the choices made here with Adar as a twisted, darkened elf in his origins are consistent with the legendarium, and the exploration of his bold confession that he has done evil things, and yet his defense of this people as deserving of some kind of life other than just being Gondorian canon.
Because they were created.
Yeah, and so it's fascinating to me to see that part of this story being explored without backing off of the fact that they're killing women and children indiscriminately. And so what do you do with that kind of storyline? Is it pretty intriguing? Anyway,
next matchup.
Well, aren't the best villains the complex ones?
Adar is certainly complex. And moving on to the next round. Two elves, Southron elves, are in the next round. Revian the Watchwarden and Medhor, friend.
Arondir's partner.
Yeah, yeah. So this was the 8-9 matchup.
I liked both these guys in the show, and I thought they both, in terms of the actors, played their roles really well. I liked the script for Revion the Watchwarden a little more. I liked the meat of his character a little more, so I voted for him in this pairing.
Yeah, and he's played by Simon Merrills, who was one of the biggest names that was announced for season 1. And no one knew who he was going to play. Like, big role, small role, voice role, cameo. And, man, I love Simon so much. I think he was in Rome, and he's been in so many other things. I wish he had done more. And I wonder if there was more planned for this character before they cut the first season from 10 to 8 episodes.
Justin, it felt like a role that could have been so much more substantial. I liked how it was written. It felt like it could have been more. And with, as you say, with an actor of Simon's caliber in there, it definitely could have served the show well if he'd had more.
He wasn't the only character that got that one and done season for the show, which were really strong. We'll see one of those at least coming up here.
Well, what was interesting about his character that was a real interesting dynamic was the elves are there to watch in case there's a rise of darkness, or if the people start to turn back to Morgoth and all that, which is sort of like this self-fulfilling prophecy, because they come in and obviously all the people resent them. And you get that very much when Arondir goes into the pub, how much resentment there is. And his reasoning is they are tainted, their blood is the same blood as, stuff like that. But there's this whole thing of how many generations between the old wars and that allegiance, and how for elves that only have one generation. So it's that whole dynamic of are they really, because they're different people racially, and it's just you being there watching them and suspicious of them that creates self-fulfilling prophecy. You're creating the resentment that's going to turn them away.
They created their own mistrust and
yeah.
The other thing I liked about the other guy, Medhor, does the accent on the E imply a pronunciation that I'm not getting right? Medhor?
Yeah, it needs to be more of an A. It's a Medhor.
Medhor? Okay, yeah. Oh, I get it. Medhor. The thing I really liked about this character is I feel like most of the elves in Peter Jackson's films are so darn serious. They're just always serious. There's not an ounce of fun in any of them. And the most we get is Legolas asking Gimli, "Should I get you a box?" Right? like there's no joking around with any elves. And so this guy shows up, and you can see like how some elves can be just regular buddies, and ribbing each other and stuff like that. So it brought a humanity to the elves that I think has been lacking. And
good point.
So as he did, however, in the show, spoilers, Medhor also succumbs, and Revion is moving on with almost 3/4 of the vote.
See,
and they only died 10 minutes apart from each other in the show.
I voted for Revion, but Justin just convinced me that I should have voted for Medhor. So now I'm sad that he didn't get through.
But you get what I'm saying? Like the variety of characterizations that this show can do with such a huge cast, it's like having that variety of elf that can be more than stoic was so just opening for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We have a human guy who turns out to be on the side of Sauron, Waldrick, up against the first of our orcs, Grogzuk.
And he's like he looks like a linebacker.
Yeah. we'll have a better picture of it potentially coming up
Well,
because
And didn't they confirm that was like baby dragon skin or something like that?
well, it was definitely scaled. I went back after I saw a note from you.
Well, and somebody, it was written out. There's some interview that actually labels it, where somebody says what.
Yeah,
what-
it was skin dragon skin.
Yeah, skin dragons. So obviously, it came from a time when there was a lot of dragons around. Because and it was found skin, when they molt because they're lizards.
Right. Lizard type.
So they molt. So it's not like they're killing them.
I went with the orc here because I just thought the designs of the orcs in the show were really well done.
Well, and we're back to practical orcs as opposed to digital orcs.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
cool. And that
Which
may
is how we know Jed Brophy when we see him.
and it may be why poor Waldrig did not make it through. So in our first real upset,
Oh, wow.
by only 81 votes, Grugzuk makes it into round 2.
Wow, I seriously thought Waldreg was going to win that one.
Yeah.
The talk on Discord, a lot of the community really believes that Waldreg has a big role to play, maybe becoming a Nazgul or one of a key, mouth of Sauron or something like that, because he surprisingly had a huge role to play in season 1. And
I mean, right there is the big key. I mean, literally, that's the key.
And Waldreg was other than the Sauron thing, Waldreg was the biggest misdirection that Amazon gave us because they put that dang sword key in the hand of Theo in the poster. Yep. And then at the end of the season, Theo had nothing to do with that key.
Yeah, although he was the keeper, so it's if he was the keeper of it and it's like 1,000 years old or however old that sword was, then his family line is a line that is trusted to hold something like that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, but Theo wasn't particularly the keeper of it. He just got it out of the floorboards in somebody else's barn, where you see the scene with him and Rowan where he's like pulling up the floorboards where things are hidden, and that's where the sword hilt is. It doesn't seem like it was his family's at all.
No, it was Waldreg's family.
Right.
That's
right.
Waldreg's barn. Yeah. So Waldreg comes from the family line, most likely, that sword. Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct. Well, I love that the orcs are winning, and that's the second Uruk. So we are all about Mordor becoming the society it deserves to be.
Well, and I guess, Justin, your comment is assuming that Waldreg survived that great cataclysm of the dam and the water tumult.
Well, that's right. Not even Isildur survived that. So who knows?
Who knows? We'll see.
All
right. Next match, 4 versus 13.
Back to that last slide real quick, just for just a second. When I was talking, one of the things too, and from a collector's perspective, when I'm looking at stuff like this, just off topic for just a second, I look at this and I'm thinking, I need somebody to make a statue of this orc.
Mm-hmm.
Because
in motion,
running, because and the thing is like, it's so well done. I mean, say what you want, what people, whatever about the show and their opinions and all that kind of thing. The designs, the effort that went into this, I look at this from like, I want this in my collection because it's so well done. It does feel like an orc that you would have seen in Middle Earth. I mean, it really feels like that. So I don't know.
Scarier. These orcs are so much scarier.
Turn this into a statue. Somebody turn this into a statue. I have money that I will throw at you.
Weta Workshop did those prosthetics, so congrats to Weta Workshop on just doing the best you can.
Yeah.
All right, next
guys, this is an important matchup here, but I'm going to have to run. I'm sorry. I'm going to love you and leave you and enjoy going through the rest of the bracket. Tomorrow morning, I will post round 2, so voting will start probably around 10 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow morning for round 2. But thanks for having me on, Justin.
All right, thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your stream.
All right, Arondir versus Rowan, not Atkinson.
That's right. No. Not Mr.
Although he was very tall. He was a big, tall, skinny beanpole.
Yeah.
I will say, and I think I said this, I can't remember if this part made it in when we did kind of our season 1 recap thing. Arondir, he was one of those characters going into the show I wasn't sure about, just because I was like, are we just gonna make, or is Amazon gonna do basically Legolas for the show? And he didn't turn out to be that. He ended up having quite a bit to him as a character and everything. And I thought the actor did a fantastic job, and I thought they gave the character depth and a personality that, yes, he does some Legolas type things, but it was a really cool character. I love the armor on that he has. And so for me, that's why I ended up voting for him, because he was just such a positive for me going into the show, when I was kind of just going into it, just because I'm like, are we just going to have Legolas 2.0?
Chat room. I wanted to know who in the chat room who they voted for and why they voted for Arondir. And Josh, you should mention you saw that armor way up close, didn't you?
Yeah, they had the armor at the party, and I mean, that's what I mean. The armor was just fantastic. You getting a chance to look at that stuff up close.
Oh yeah,
I don't think
there's a belly button on there. There's a belly button carved into it.
People that see it in the show, yeah, it's 4K and that's wonderful, and I understand how great TVs are and stuff. But getting to see that stuff up close, it's really ridiculous how well that armor is put together, and the job that Weta did on it and everything. It's really, 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 really cool. It's another one of those, I would like to see a statue or a collectible made of this, because the armor is just really beautiful. And so just from a costuming prop perspective, from a statue perspective, I just think it'd be cool to have. But the character, like I said, the character itself really, really surprised me with how much I ended up actually liking the character.
Well, and for me, that first trailer, the Super Bowl trailer, and you see him, and of course you don't realize at the time, but he's saving Theo when he catches the arrow in mid thing, turns it around and shoots off and everything like that. And so it's funny when you say, are they going to make him like the Legolas? Whereas I'm thinking of Legolas as just an example of what an elven fighting person is like, or at least a woodland one, because we obviously see it in the Hobbit with everyone else in the Hobbit and stuff like that. So for me, it's like, he has to live up to at least that standard, because that's the standard set for the elves.
Right. Well, but I think adding the personality is what made him better, though, because they gave him more than just...
Well, they gave him a character. Legolas, sort of, you don't really get to know him until like the second or third movie.
Well, two things
He's
about...
got much more character,
Two things about Arondir that you do see. One is they give him a very elvish orientation. So if you think about the scene where he literally is apologizing to a tree before he chops. So that is a very kind of an elvish sentiment. It's not just all battle and flying through the air and doing flips and defying gravity.
I don't think there's any debate on who's going to win this. My final thought on this is, I cannot believe he is rumored not to be coming back for season 2. This is obviously a fan favorite character. This is obviously a well-written character, a well-acted character, and a well-costumed character.
I mean, the actor is a big geek and went after this hardcore to get on this show. So that, you're right, that is surprising.
So how do you exclude him from season 2? Like, it's just shocking.
What is not shocking is the outcome of this album.
No.
At 94% Arondir.
Actually, I thought it would be 98%. I'm shocked. Do you think there were protest votes here? Do you think people voted against him for political reasons? Stupid political reasons.
It's possible. But if they did, it's a very small minority.
Well, you also might have had a 13-year-old who looked at the Rowan character and went, okay, well, he's cute.
Yeah. And also dead, but so it goes.
Yeah. So dead.
All right. Theo versus Abigail.
Abigail is an obscure character. Abigail was one of the women that was on the shipwrecked raft in the middle of the Sundering Sea.
Is she the one that pushes Galadriel off the raft?
Yep, she is.
Territorial. Do we know where those people are from? Do those raft people have a homeland?
She actually was starting to say it when one of the guys stopped her from saying where they came from 2 weeks before. So they had gotten onto the boat 2 weeks before coming out of, and he stops her from saying it. But if you're thinking, I mean, it's one of those things because as we're moving around, are we on the same time frame everywhere else? Because that would match up with when their home was burned.
So
If it was the same home that you then see Bronwyn and Arondir go to. So
I think this
so
is
we don't
another
know.
shoe-in. There isn't much to talk about here. I think everyone fell in love with Theo. Well performed. We met the actor at Comic-Con last year, and Amazon brought him out all the way from New Zealand, and he's just a wonderful person, a wonderful actor, very talented, and we look forward to all 5 seasons of where this
I think he's from
headed.
Australia. I believe he's from Perth, Australia.
Really? Oh, that's fascinating.
there you go.
Yeah.
Future Nazgul, we'll see.
Well, see, and you could see he was really, I mean, the addiction, you know, the thing that you saw Gollum and then that you saw with Bilbo and with Frodo regarding the ring is he sort of had that, once he discovered it was like really cool, but once it made him bleed and everything like that, he was addicted to it. Obviously it's gone now, so we don't know if he's still got that pull or if he's now free of that pull.
We'll see, because he certainly gave up the key when his mother was threatened.
Yeah.
So they've given him again more nuance to his character than just something. So, but Theo's moving on to and then there's his mom, Bronwyn, versus another one of those shipwreck people, Astrid, who is the post-traumatic.
And all I think when I look at her hair and the fact that her hair is all cut, and I'm like going, okay, a shipwreck wouldn't do that. So why does she look like that?
Yeah.
Because the only people I've ever seen look like that were people who were traitors in a war where they got together with
That's right.
The enemies, you know, and then they got pulled in and they get their hair shaved. And that's the only time I've seen that kind of look. And I'm like, why on earth does she look like this?
Collaborators looked like that at the end of the Second World War in Paris, for example.
Yeah. So, unless her hair caught on fire when the ship went down. It was just an interesting character design that I just couldn't figure out.
Speaking of going down,
are the from a college basketball perspective, they're the poor souls that wins their conference tournament. They're so excited when the Nuggets get announced, and you're sitting there at home going, y'all are about to get murdered in the next round. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Georgia, that would be.
You're going to New York City. You're going to get to see Madison Square Garden. That's really cool, and you're going to get beat by 50 points. Congratulations. That's the end.
This is one of those matchups where you don't need to watch. You can just like tell me the score. How bad was it? How bad was it? 94%. Okay.
94%.
It's funny though that we're talking about the March Madness basketball in terms of how this worked out for her.
Okay, next up we have 2 orcs. The correct picture of Bazur, who is one of those Southron slave drivers for the Elven captives, and our friend Jed Brophy as Wrath.
And Bazur, I think, is like the captain because during the funeral sequence, he seems to be like the one who's like the boss.
Couple things on this from me. One, does Bazur if you remember what the orc looked like? I think it's the one in Return of the King when
he's been compared to that orc overseer in the extended edition.
Yeah, they're working when Frodo and Sam are working their way through that little bit of orc before they go towards Mount Doom, and he screams and stuff. And he has like the white eye. That's what that's the face on that one. That's what he reminds me of. I don't know if I was the only one just seeing that or if I've just watched the movie so.
Well, I guess we need to look up the actor's name and see if that actor was in the other movie.
Was definitely in the Lord of the Rings movies.
And I had to vote for Brad because one, it's Jed. It's the really cool design, and Jed and I apparently share the same birthday, so I had to go with Jed on this one.
So it was a relatively close seedings in here, but I think not a surprise. Our friend Wrath makes it into the second round with close to 70% of the vote.
Well,
Close
And I
round.
found I found this tweet from Jed Brof. He says, "Meet Vrath. He's a Scorpio and very handy in the garden. Likes quiet nights at home, watching villages burning and chasing elves."
That's Wrath, for sure.
And that's Vrath. Moving on.
Wrath is moving on to the next round. Last matchup in this round, another orc versus, spoilers, Halbrand actually said.
And I'm going to talk about Magrot for a moment here. He's the one that comes out when the elves are trying to refuse to chop down the tree. And he's the one that cools off all the other orcs, and he offers them water, and they're all drinking. And then he just slashes Medros his throat. So that's him. That's the sneaky dude.
Nasty guy.
Wearing an elven helmet.
Yes, he is.
I wondered about that when I watched it, when the episode played and then when I was looking at the pictures for the voting, I was like, is that an elf? Because it didn't look like any other elven helmet we had seen before, so I wasn't.
It could be a really old one because
What's interesting
he's an
about
old orc.
If it is an elven helmet, you can see in the picture it's been it's been modified, so they had to break it off and kind of wire it back together. So I guess it would fit.
Well, it's that center area over the nose that makes me think that's why I was kind of tracking.
Yeah. But you can see from the scoring on it that it's been around for a while. Mm-hmm. So it's aged. But you also see how like when the funeral again. And so one of the orcs bends down and takes the chest plate. That's an elven chest plate, and takes. In other words, nothing goes to waste.
Yeah.
I hate Halbrand. I voted for Magrot. Protest vote.
Halbrand has been around a long time, and he came through at 87% of the vote.
Boo.
Break into the 90s.
Not my Sauron.
Definitely bring him to the next round. Okay, so that means
I demand a recount.
Here are the matchups in round 2 for the Southlands Mordor bracket. Adar is going up against the Watchwarden. Mom and her son are going up against one another.
Brutal.
And then 2 orcs, Grugzuk and Wrath, are going up strong competition in Halbrand and Arondir in their corners of the bracket.
I can tell where 3 of these are going.
Yeah, I would expect.
But Mom and Son is going to be tough.
I would expect Arondir to win. Theo, and I would expect, really honestly, basically the top seeds to win almost all of those. Maybe Theo beats his mom to the winner circle, but that's not necessarily where my votes are going to go, but I'm just where I think things are going to go.
I don't know. Jed is pretty good on social media, so.
I was going to say Jed's going to be out there pushing it.
I'm voting for Wrath on this one. I'm taking Jed to the end, so we'll.
Okay.
So would you say now for Wrath, now for Ruin?
And the world's ending.
All right, next category.
That's such an orc thing to say, though.
Now, we shift from all of these orcs and and there's a pretty good mix going on to this second round in this region. And now we shift over to the Harfoots and the visitors. We do have.
And I'm just going to say, Jim, I think I would have loved to have the Ents in there because having just seen it, I suddenly realized that was the one thing that we missed was the Ents.
Yep. So we missed the Ents. We didn't see the Ents very long.
Yeah.
And, but next year maybe. First matchup of the 1 versus 16 would be Eleanor or Nori Brandyfoot. I don't know, the Frodo of this series versus Wolves and Wargs.
I vote for the Wargs because that was a totally miscast character. Tolkien described Harfoots in a very specific way that looks nothing like this character. Just totally miscast.
What description? The one where they have brown skin?
All of it, yeah.
Well, all the others do have brown skin.
Except
all good.
the main one. The gossip on the deepest corners of Discord has Eleanor Brandyfoot as the source of the hobbits of the Shire.
Well, I'm thinking the Tookish, at least the Tookish, the adventurous ones.
The Tooks. Well, no. Gollum supposedly is Gollum and Smeagol are from the river folk that are derived from the who's the other one? The Stores.
The Stores and Fallowhides.
Yeah. So the Stores end up becoming the race in the Third Age, if I'm correct, that Smeagol and Deagle are from, and the Harfoots eventually become the hobbits of the Shire.
It's a mix. At any rate, any predictions on this one? Pretty easy. Another one.
I would think.
Yeah.
I voted for Eleanor, so I would think she would have won by quite a bit.
But Nori wins with 84% of the vote. Not surprising.
I just don't like the fact that she eats snails, but that's just me.
We thought for a while.
The fact that they moved to that one location specifically because it's good for snailing, I was like, ugh.
We almost included snails as one of the entries in this bracket.
Yeah.
We opted out. Nori's sister, Dilly Brandyfoot, up against another one of the Harfoot party, Vilma. This was our 8-9 seed in the region.
I'd vote for Velma. I love the energy of those Harfoot women.
I can't remember who I voted for. I think I voted for Velma. I think
I voted for Dilly because kids are always fun.
This was one of the 3 closest matchups in the entire first round, and Dilly comes through with 52.
Wow.
Dilly probably isn't in the second season unless we flash back to what the Harfoots are doing while Eleanor's off on an adventure.
Off heading to Rune, apparently.
Yeah.
But Dilly does make it. Part of the family. So the Brandyfoot family marches on. More Brandyfoots. So Marigold, Dilly and Nori's mother, up against one of the 3 strange...
The Seekers.
Wait, that's one of the witches?
Yes, that's the Nomad. That's one of the 3 Seekers.
Oh, I like them. I like her. I like her especially. I voted for the Nomad.
Nomad.
Well, I'm glad you got your vote in because Marigold Brandyfoot,
going out.
keeping it in the family, is also progressing into the next.
I am 0 for 4 on this round.
And
I voted for Marigold on this one.
She's cautious, but understanding and somewhat wise and supportive of her husband. I mean, she's kind of like the perfect mother figure. She's doing it better. I think she does the mothering better than Bronwyn does, just maybe because she's got a husband and Bronwyn is doing it single and, but yeah, I like Marigold a lot.
So,
she's a stepmother, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
That is,
yes.
And so, because the first mother of the children died, and Largo, who was in our next round, no, sorry, Largo's coming up. So, it's an example of an intact family, similar to the Diza Durin 4 intact family.
Yeah.
So we get to see Harfoot family dynamics. Marigold is moving on. Here's another one of our characters, Sadok Burrows, Lenny Henry, who does not make it out of the first season.
Absolute travesty. The only character to die in season 1. The only character to die in season 1 is the most famous. On top of what?
Antamo dies.
Antamo.
Which one?
The best friend of
Isildur dies too. That's right. But the one that we officially know is dead. Is the biggest actor to join season 1. I was looking forward to.
We know Antamo died because we see his dead body.
Right.
It's not a mystery. With Isildur, it is a mystery. With Antamo, he's lying right there in front of them, dead.
Well, we know Revian died. So we have other characters that have died.
Yeah, we had lots of characters die.
Okay.
Santa
But
Cruz.
he's the only big name. He's the Sean Bean of the episode of the show.
He was huge. Yeah, he really was the Sean Bean of season 1. Just the biggest name to attract a whole group of people to watch the show. I was so pleasantly rewarded with his performance, and that's my guy.
I was really shocked when they killed him off, because he was one of those names that you did kind of recognize going into this. I was like, but it was. I think the Sean Bean casting is a really good example. Actually, in some ways, not so much for me with Lord of the Rings, but more Sean Bean in Game of Thrones. Spoiler alert! If you've never seen Game of Thrones.
Yeah, well, that's what I meant, was the Sean Bean of
Like,
Game of Thrones.
I mean, he's everywhere at Comic-Con, Game of Thrones. Oh my God. And then, I about break my television. This is kind of one of those, I'm like, he's everywhere. A lot of their marketing, blah, blah, blah. And then when he died,
Well,
I looked at my mom and I go, I can't believe they actually just did that.
Well, and what gets me is his position in the family, is he's the keeper of the book and knows how to read the signs in it. And you never really see him sharing that information. I mean, the other ladies, they all kind of convene, the elders all kind of convene.
Right.
But it's like, what's going to happen? Because he's the one that sets when they move from place to place and looks at the signs and what they should do to react to what they're seeing. And there's not somebody now to replace that role, unless it's going to be Largo.
Well,
because obviously Bandifoot is on her way.
It's interesting that somehow whoever's writing didn't have enough creative energy to come up with a name for Malva's sister in the cast list. So if you look up the Rings of Power cast list, it literally is an actress, and she's Malva's sister. But unsurprisingly, Sadok is not dead yet in the tournament, at least.
Yeah.
And one of our favorite artists, Daniel Reeve, who worked on many of the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit movies before, he is the one that drew Sadok's book. Every page you see.
Are you sure it was not Daniel Reeve?
Yeah, did I say Daniel Reeve?
Oh, no, I don't know. Did you say Daniel Falconer or Daniel Reeve?
Reeve.
Reeve. Okay, well, then that makes sense.
Great guy. Sadok Burrows. Moving on. We have another Brandyfoot. And because we needed to flesh out, but at an 11 seed, the Fireflies are up against Largo.
Fireflies are important, and they lead the way, and they obviously are under the influence of magic. And we're having the United States has lost a third of all of its fireflies in the last 10 years. So
they're going the same way as the bees.
That's right. So
But how do they get the fireflies in? I mean, because do they breed them so that they can put them into their lanterns, or is the lantern sort of like a colony, so that they live in there, and therefore can light up at nighttime, but they live in there, so you don't have to sit there and try and gather them. I'm just wondering, how do you get a bunch of fireflies to go sit in your lantern? Unless
let's see how people voted. Did they like fireflies as much as we do?
Just like in the movie or in the series, the fireflies did not survive. So.
Man, I am just getting roasted on this bracket. This whole category, I think I'm 0 for 7.
Yeah,
this is where Justin's bracket dies and he loses the pool.
Brandyfoot makes it into round 2 at 69% of the vote.
All right.
The Samwise Gamgee of the
Samwise. Yep, that's what I called her.
I love me some witches. They were so cool. They're some of the best new parts of the show, like with enough mystery and magic, and it was just all the fantasy that I wanted. The Dweller is my choice.
I mean, they were very otherworldly, weren't they?
Yeah.
All three of
them.
Fact,
this actress, I think it's Bridie Season.
Yeah.
Plays the Dweller. Was confused in some of the early trailers as if she was Sauron. So she really did put off pretty sinister.
That really weird vibe. Yeah.
Yeah. but turns out to be the Dweller. But she's up against the Samganji of the Rings of Power.
And the Samganji who can sing.
That's true.
Because Samwise is kind of that. He's more into poetry, less into song.
True enough. And Poppy makes it through.
Man, this category, I just hand in my ballot, just tear it up, just put it to shreds. My vote doesn't count here.
Somebody has to vote for the underdogs. So I guess that's you, Justin.
So you wanna vote for the ascetic? You got one more witch to vote for.
Yeah, absolutely. As much as I love the adult Proudfoots or the adult Harfoots, she was my least favorite of the witches there. So I will vote for Malva on this one because I got to give it.
Malva was my least favorite. She was the one that was always like, take their wheels, leave them behind.
Yeah,
everything is a danger. Everything,
Justin and I flipped on this one because I voted for the aesthetic on this one.
Yeah. I think I did too.
Malva turned at the end. She got
right, but Malva being so like, she doesn't have a temper. She just is very conservative in her choices and very direct. And I feel like her and Sadok represent the truest version of what the Harfoot culture was like as Tolkien wrote. So I really appreciated the directness and just like, hey, no rest for the weary. That's how Tolkien describes them. They were nomads. They didn't write anything down, and they just carried on. So let's see what the fans said.
All right, yeah. This is the dynamic with the Harfoots. There was a bit of a strange note with that. So they celebrate all the people that they've lost along the way, but we're not going to wait for them. So we're going to put them at the back and maybe take their wheels. So this is an interesting tension.
Well, the whole taking the wheel thing, I mean, I get if someone, Blizzard and an avalanche was how, or mudslide was how Poppy lost her family. But for some of them, it's like they were left behind, and it's because there's all these dangers. I mean, that's what you get from when Nori is telling the stranger about the travels and all the perils they have. So I get some of it. But I'm like going, well, if you're standing there and there isn't a danger around, help them.
Well,
I thought that would be closer.
Justin,
you know what? If she was up against the other one, the Birdie Seasong, the Blue Eyes, I think in that case, I think that in that matchup it would have been.
I think you're right. I think that's a good point. It was the only reason Malva's moving forward is because that was the weakest of the witches. Who, I will remind everybody, did not die according to the showrunners. They have confirmed in writing in public that the witches did not die.
Okay.
So yay, we get to see them again. Maybe when there's a blue wizard somewhere.
There you go. We'll get to see Malva again in round 2. The last matchup in the Harfoots and Visitors, the Stranger. And I think these are actually called hunters in the show. We call them big nomadic antlered big people.
I'm thinking Stranger versus the Strange.
So
that's a good point. I just absolutely loathe with every fiber of my being that they won't just name the character that we know he is. So I voted for the nomadic people because that guy should not be a stranger and he should not be Meteor Man. He should have a name.
Well, and there's some still debate. The obvious lead candidate, because he keeps using his lines, is Gandalf.
Olorin.
Blue wizards are still.
Well, I'm just wondering why Nori hasn't just given him a name so she can call him something. I mean, since he was traveling with them, it's like, wouldn't they have? Because in essence, when you see them traveling and it's the map thing while you got Poppy singing and stuff like that, so it's several days, if not weeks. I would have thought that they would have come up with their own pet name for him, and that would be okay with me. I'd be okay with them naming him, Bigfoot or something.
So
just something,
Something,
maybe,
yeah.
Yeah, I would expect the Stranger to win this, and I will admit I voted for.
Yeah.
But I kind of hope I hope he's one of the Blue Wizards. I think that would be a better way to go with this. I mean, I know he's going to end up being Gandalf. I know I'm not, I don't know that I'm going to love that because again,
I want a blue.
It goes into, we had someone very special play Gandalf, and now you're dipping your toe into that water. If that goes that route, you better nail that, because that there's already, I mean, that's, you've already had a Hall of Fame candidate, to use a sports metaphor, to play that character.
Well, an Academy Award nominee in that role.
Yeah. So if you're going that route, you better hit it.
Well, and the thing is,
I would rather him be a
it turns out to be Saruman. It's the same argument, because look at who played Saruman.
Yeah, that's to me why he's a Blue Wizard.
I don't know how you all feel about Daniel Wayman's portrayal.
Oh, I liked his portrayal. He's a damn good actor.
Yeah. The actor, wonderful. The writing, okay. The guessing games, trash.
There you go. So, yeah, there was a lot of those.
Yeah.
But I was also, before the show came out, I was extremely frustrated at these nomadic antlered people, because one of the first photos of the most anticipated series of all time included those guys, and then they opened the first trailer with those guys, and we were getting reports here at the One Ring from people that worked on the show saying, ignore those guys, they have nothing to do with anything, and nobody knows why they're using them to market the show. And sure enough, those guys have nothing to do with anything, and it was another total useless mystery box that had no bearing whatsoever on anything to do with anything.
The only thing they showed is how good the Harfoot are at hiding, because the minute they walk by, you see how close they were to a whole bunch of the Harfoot. And of course, as they're talking to each other, one of them is talking to them about how sneaky and possibly dangerous Harfoots are. So you actually get an introduction to the Harfoots because of them.
It was just a waste of marketing space to put them in Vanity Fair and the trailer.
And why are they wearing those big antlers? Any rate.
Well, they're hunters, and so it's a trophy.
Okay. Well, speaking of a trophy, at least for the next round, the Stranger.
He looks very sad for having won.
Well,
he always looks sad. There's very few.
So did Jesus.
Smile.
He has a sad resting face. Okay, so here are the matchups. Here are the matchups for the second round in the Harfoots and Visitors region, and there are a whole bunch of Brandyfoots in this. So
I'm just not gonna vote. Like, if you don't give me people I want to vote for, I'm just not gonna vote.
Okay. This round.
Well, I'm gonna vote for Samwise.
Well, you can.
I mean, Poppy.
I would say you're gonna get an Eleanor Sadok matchup, a Poppy and Stranger matchup.
Yep.
That would be my. I mean, just based on. I mean, I will say that's spoiler alert. That's who I'm voting for. But I mean, that's. I mean, that would be my guess. I ended up liking the Harfoot storyline more than I think I said this in the write up deal too, more than I anticipated. Kind of how it started, but I will say, looking at the bracket, it's probably the least. It's the least going, oh, this is completely awesome part of it, because there is a weird grouping of characters and how they did things, and well, like you guys were talking about with the, we're gonna have a ceremony for all the people left behind that we left behind,
right.
So it's a weird deal. I understand the complaints towards that, and I can understand the complaints defending like the differences and how it went. But as a whole, I think this is probably
it's a freaky culture, and it would be interesting to see if we see when they change their ways.
Right, and I think it was maybe the weakest area in some ways, for the writers of the show in general, with certain aspects. I mean, I liked Eleanor. I thought she was well done. I thought Poppy was cool, and I enjoyed the Stranger and Sadok. Those four key pillars were the parts that I liked. The peripheral characters that came in, the dad, the mom, everybody else was kind of just like here, there, and so it just, I don't know. It was probably the weakest of the storylines for me.
Well, and Malva gives off Lobelia Sackville Baggins vibes.
We have two regions in our brackets that represent pretty much made up storylines. This is one of them.
Yep.
The closest connections we have are the stories that are going on in the northwest parts, Lindon. So Elrond's storyline, Celebrimbor's storyline, and so on, as well as the Numenorian storylines. So, and those are probably the strongest brackets.
Do we have our full bracket thingy yet?
I'll go back to that when we get through the next bracket. One of these characters is coming out of this region to be in the final four. And
it's either going to be Eleanor or the Stranger.
Probably. And this, as you can see,
one of those two. Yeah.
We see this region perfectly. Every single one of our 1 through 8s made it into the second round. And so we're no upsets in this particular region.
Go us! We actually seeded this one well. Yeah.
There you go. So let's talk about our last region. So we finally get to the Numenorians.
This is our final bracket from the big first round 64. Thank you everybody for voting, and I'm really excited because this is what everyone wanted to see in the show.
I was strongly campaigning for the Sailmaster.
I like the Sailmaster.
I have no idea how it came out, but I was campaigning hard for that one.
Well, the librarian I thought was going to be Elros.
No, Elros is long dead.
Because he's mortal.
Wait, okay, but he founded the library, right?
His library, yes. Yeah.
And the library is the first place we've ever seen Elros put to screen.
And he's
on a tapestry, yeah, sure.
But it's the first time he's been represented in a movie or TV show ever.
Yeah. Yes.
Unless you like the twin, we've seen him in Elrond, so we must have seen Elros too. So, and that's how he looked.
That said, Elendil was perfect casting. The actor recited some Tolkien poetry when we met up with him at the press junket. You can see that video on our YouTube channel. And Elendil is everything we've ever hoped for in that character, and he's just perfect. Perfect. No.
For his very small role, the librarian is probably perfect too. But
yeah, I loved.
So did he get a perfect score on the vote?
Perfect score, but he got 96, so he did not quite get to that 97.
That's the highest so far.
The second highest. Second highest.
He had 97 with Durin 4.
Oh, Durin, yeah, wow.
Durin got the highest.
Yeah, but
good man.
He's 96%. So pretty clearly, Elendil was moving on.
Clearly, and also clearly the number one seed.
Yes, in this bracket, in this region.
Let's go look at our 8s and our 9s.
An interesting 8-9. So we had Tar Palantir, who's still around, part of the faithful, kind of ostracized, isolated as a result of his being elf friendly, up against one of the key friends of Isildur, Valandil, who ends up going to Middle Earth and being part of the battle in the Southlands. He's a survivor. Any predictions?
Well, I voted for Tar Palantir because a faithful king.
Tar Palantir, yeah.
Yeah, for me at least.
I voted for Richard Ayoade from the IT crowd. If you're watching from England, I thought that dude looked exactly like our favorite comedian from the IT crowd. It is not him. I'm making a joke, but he is styled very much like Richard Ayoade.
Interestingly, here, I don't know. Well, Valandil comes through.
Look at that! Look at that! Boom!
It's close. Look how
Comedy
close it is.
wins the day.
There you are. It wasn't one of those 53 or just less than 100 votes.
No, it was a little bit bigger, but
Yep.
it's
So
still
that-
closer compared to some of the others.
compared to some of the other battles, but you'd expect that. I mean, 8 versus.
Well,
9.
yeah, exactly.
So 56%. Valandil is going through to the second round.
I'm thinking with Valandil, with Untamo now dead,
Yep.
Valandil and Isildur are going to start. They're going to pull apart because Untamo was the glue of that trio of friends.
I thought that was a pink tree. Didn't it have pink flowers?
No, it's a white tree.
It's a white tree?
Dude,
White.
as
tree.
in Gondor, as in. The
Yeah,
tree
yeah, I
of
know Gondor has a white tree, but when
Where do you think
it
it came
molts, when it
Where do you
molts,
think
it
it
looks
came from?
pink. I don't
No,
know.
It looked white.
all lighting, I guess, but it is definitely the white tree. This white tree is ultimately one of the.
And that's different than the white tree in Moria.
In Moria. Yes, no,
There is no
that's
white tree in Moria.
Elven tree. No, this is one of the special series of white trees which are saved from Valinor when it is attacked by Ungoliant, and brought and planted. Ultimately, one of the saplings is here in Numenor. Numenor is going to get overwhelmed. Spoilers. We kind of saw
And
that.
Isildur is the one that takes a sapling from this
Or
and
is the
takes
one-
it to Middle Earth.
Exactly. And
Okay.
sets it
So
in,
so this vote is basically those who know the lore versus Amazon's
The
best
agitator.
background character.
that's right.
The agitator.
So you either know the lore and voted with your love of Gondor, or you don't know the lore and it's just a tree versus a man.
And I'm looking at this particular angle on this tree, and it almost looks like a woman with her, the white and everything like that, and like that's a right-legged knee sticking out, and she's leaning back. And,
There's almost a human aspect to it in terms of its motion.
I'm just seeing an Entwife. That's all.
All right. Well, let's see if the Entwife
Wow.
wins.
So apparently the people who love the lore really voted hard, because this is another one of our 97%.
97.
Wow.
Yeah, the tree. Well, like we've talked about before, Numenor, Gondor. That's my favorite line overall of any.
Yeah, I mean it's on my robe. It's on my. I have another shirt that I'm not wearing. I'm wearing the ring shirt right now, so I've got the ring on. But it's on everything. It's on all of their heraldry and stuff like that. I mean,
7 stars and 7 stones. And
Yeah,
one
there was no doubt for me. I was going to vote for the tree.
versus
because
this.
yeah.
Yeah. So the tree is moving on. There's going to be an interesting matchup, because here
It's
was
going up against. Well, okay, and this one is hilarious.
the whole first round. Isildur versus his horse, Beric.
I thought that was the funniest section. I couldn't even believe that they ended up against each other in the first round.
They did. Any guesses?
Well, I voted for Beric.
Well, that Beric, the Unhinged Fellowship on Twitter is some of the most wonderfully funny accounts you can follow. They are really unhinged about Rings of Power, unhinged in the most fun way. And if they played their games and stuffed the ballots, I do not deny that Beric has a strong chance of going forward.
Even at the 13th, so we put the Cinderella slipper on a horse,
Yeah.
as well as
A Cinderella horseshoe.
Unfortunately, that was not the case, but it was close. 61%.
I told
Yeah.
you, Beric's got some fans. No joke. He has some
Beric
fans.
was strong supporting.
And
Again,
Isildur's
if we had
dead,
seeded these-
so he has
and if
no
we had
relevance
seeded these-
to the future.
And if we had seeded these differently, then you get them in second and third rounds.
Good, you could, but
Whatever.
that's the way the seeds work.
I thought the guy that played Isildur did a really good job and did a good job of adding. I mean, obviously with the help of the storyline in general, but adding to what we get of Isildur in Peter Jackson's films. I mean,
Yeah,
obviously,
what's interesting. Yeah,
Yeah, he
so-
has no depth in those films.
yeah. So you
Yeah,
add
but
to
he's
what
also-
little you get in those films with this, and I think you see ultimately, I think you will see after the seasons why he ultimately makes the decision that he makes and why it will make sense from a visual perspective. Not obviously the books help add stuff, but
Right. So we're going to get lots of backstory, presumably, regardless of what Justin keeps saying. If we see Isildur,
that's just out there.
yeah,
Stirring the
Are you
head.
kidding? Barrack knows where he
I
is.
I do not know the meaning of subtext. I'm going on
Just
what
that
the
Barrack
show
knows where he
gave
is.
us. The show ended with a distraught father thinking his son has died, and we have not told any other information.
So in the Two Towers, were you convinced
Because
that
none of
Aragorn
us
was dead?
read.
Given Eowyn's reaction when she found out that Gimli said she's fell, Aragorn's dead. So it's
And the
happened.
horse-
Oh, fans hated that. Remember when that happened in Two Towers? When Aragorn takes a tumble off the cliff.
Yeah.
Everyone hated that. Like, I remember so many book fans were like, that never happened. And then, the horse waking him up and everything like that. Like, you guys think the discourse for
Yes.
Rings of Power is bad? It's always been like this.
Are we going to have a
Yeah.
Barrack wakes Isildur up scene? We'll see.
Yeah. I fully expect that Barrack, because they were going to try and take Barrack back, and it was like he wasn't having any of that because he knew his guy was out there.
Aria
Sailmaster.
Sailmaster. Josh?
I voted for Elendil's daughter.
Oh, jeez. All right. Jim, who'd you vote for?
Hold on, before you kill me too much. I started to vote for the Sailmaster. I really did. But then I'm like, I really like Elendil and everything. He's one of my favorite characters, even though he's like in the movies it's nothing. I get that. But I was like, I can't betray Elendil. So I voted for the girl that's obviously just a made up character. I was like, I can't betray a character that I really like, even though the character is not real and won't really get mad at me for doing so. The logic that I used to work myself around to voting for her was really kind of ridiculous.
Whereas I just realized the Sailmaster, when he first shows up, the Twitter ladies, they went crazy for him.
Oh, he's a good looking guy.
Yeah.
Head full of hair and all that kind of stuff. I'm jealous.
Jim, who'd you vote for?
I voted for the Fabio of Numenor.
Of course. All right. This guy better win. We've got 3 out of 4 voted for the Sailmaster.
We did, but Aarion pulls through.
Get out of here. Get out of here.
So Josh
The
is,
traitor, who's going to die a horrible death. You just know it. She's going to die a horrible death, which is why we don't know about her.
we
Because
don't know much
she,
about it. And her motive.
we don't know about. I mean, I know that she didn't exist, but even if she did, because they have her as a kingsman instead of a faithful, she never makes it off the island.
I think this is one of those characters that when Numenor gets swept under, you get a very painful, sea swallows you whole death. I agree. I think that's she's there to serve that purpose, to help make Elendil and Isildur's
sacrifice,
but also their what they put into being one of the faithful. Why it's so important for as part of their family heritage that even they had people that went the other way, and why it's so important that they stayed as part of the faithful. If that makes sense.
And Lloyd Oilman at Comic-Con mentions that the fact that they created this character, and so you're going to see the schism in the family as the division starts to widen. So
she's an interesting character. She's probably one of the few introvert scholar kinds of characters that we've seen kind of fleshed out in the
Not a fan.
Any rate, she's moving on, whether you're a fan or
You
not.
know, she's in a faux relationship with another made-up guy.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Kevin's coming up. Before we get to him,
Kevin.
Arizon versus Edda, who is Muriel's maid.
This is another one of those March Madness, just like happy to be there. You know,
Yes.
they'll probably drape a banner in their gymnasium that they participated in March Madness one year. Yeah, Farazan, great actor, great performance. I really look forward to where this actor takes this role.
Who knows? But maybe Edda is kind of like the St. Peter's University from last year's tournament.
One of the things I made sure I did before, like the show started, was I caught up on all of Nerd of the Rings videos and watched his one where he was talking about really focusing on Farazan and stuff like that, and getting to kind of know maybe that character a little bit better than I did. And I thought this guy did a really good job of that, and I'm very eager to see him go down what Matt lays out in that video and his history, and how I want to, you know, it's one thing to hear Matt talk about it and I'll read about it in the books. I'm very curious to see him play this out and how devious and nasty and that he's going to get as he plays this character, because Farazan's he's a pretty wicked dude. So I'm definitely looking forward to
And
that.
not that he's not being prodded by an even more wicked dude.
True.
We've seen some political gamesmanship in other Lord of the Rings stories. Denethor would be possibly an example. But really, this is the whole Numenorian story and the Farazan Miriel component of that story. And then when presumably Sauron gets reintroduced into the Numenorian mix, George R.R. Martin's famous for saying, I want to know what Tolkien's thoughts were on Middle-earth tax policy. And, the closest one is going to be, the kind of political gamesmanship that we've already seen some hints of. That's really going to presumably get ramped up. And Farazan's going to be right at the center of it. So it'll be interesting. And unsurprisingly, but with only 78% of the vote.
Wow, that's a lot closer than I thought it would be. Actually, I'm really shocked.
Which is weird that so many people would vote for somebody that's the best. I mean, you actually see a better picture of her from the back when she's opening up the curtain.
Yeah.
And then you hear her voice once, but you don't see her again. So she's got her back turned as she's opening the curtains. And then she turns around and that's it.
That picture is actually a screenshot that I took as I was playing the episode because there were no online pictures I could find of Edda.
Yeah.
But
that's because there aren't any other.
Farazan is moving on.
When it's close like that, I would love to, from the people that voted for the maid, like what was I think to me it's more.
I bet you anything they don't like where he's going. They know where he's going. Yeah.
They're a bad guy. They don't like the actor. They didn't like how he played the character. Something. It has to be a vote against more so than a vote for type situation.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh.
Here we go. Another.
I went for the made up character with the curly hair.
Okay, well, they're both made up characters.
Exactly. So. That's why I said I went for the made up character.
They both look like marble statues.
Emin versus Ontamo.
I don't remember who I voted for, to be honest with you.
Well, I like the one who's the peacekeeper, Ontamo.
I think
right,
that's
let's see what people's vote.
People said they liked Ontamo.
Kathy, you're reading this audience just like better than ever.
So another close to a Cinderella makes it into the second, beating Kevin.
Yeah.
That was one of those that that Kemen was, he might have been a 7, but that's like, which you flip a coin and pick who you're going to vote for because you really don't care because that guy's losing in the next round anyways. That's the 8-9 matchup that's playing the 1 in the second round. You're going, oh, you got Duke in the next round. Congratulations. I hope you
Duke didn't make it out of the second round.
That is true. They didn't.
They didn't.
Oh, and UCLA, I have a UCLA cap on my door back here because I'm going to the gymnastics NCAA regionals next week. But obviously our basketball team lost last night.
So
Muriel was wonderful.
The last matchup that we're going to cover. This is This is
Woohoo!
the 32nd of the 32.
I kind of think the lady with the really cool dresses is going to beat the guy with all the gunk on him.
Yeah, well,
Just saying.
Muriel was really cool. I really liked how they played the character. Again, making sure I remembered certain things, watching some of Matt's videos, kind of refreshing some thoughts and stuff on her. And I liked the little bit slightly different take they took with her at the beginning, and kind of how she was playing because she knows what's going on a little.
Yeah.
But
So she's playing a little bit of gamesmanship.
Again, the armor and stuff that she's got, on with the breastplate and everything. That's really, Weta did a really good job. Now, one thing that people did knock about with it was that in really high res videos, you can tell the what's supposed to be kind of armor underneath of it is kind of like one of those Nike running shirt type things, that material with the stuff on it. And it's like, she's got to be running around swinging something, guys. They can't put her in, armor where it doesn't work, and you only really notice it when you 4K the picture and then 8K that part and then 8K that part, and you get in. It's like, but long story short, I thought she did really cool. I thought the armor was
and
I just wanted to rant about that for a second. Sorry.
And she's wearing chaps. I love the fact that she's wearing riding pants that are sort of like skirts, but they're like chaps. They're very cool.
Well, you think that's cool. Muriel comes out, 88%.
It's still
88%.
And I love this helmet. I mean, when we saw the pictures of this sun helmet thing, I was like, yeah, that, and of course it does make her a target, but then she's never was going to be in the battle.
I don't know that the helmet is super functional in a battle, but it's cool looking. I mean, that's
Well,
really
it's the kind of thing that you would expect the commander of the army to be wearing.
That would seem
Yeah, but we were told 8 times in the series we know who the commander of the armies are.
Yeah.
Galadriel. It's always introduced as commander.
Yeah.
Up and over. So here are the matchups for this last bracket. For the next
Valindel's going down.
Valindel's up against Elendil, so that's what's pretty.
Oh my, Farazan and Arian.
This is an entirely close bracket. I could see some action in this bracket.
I can see the tree actually beating Isildur, even though he's the one that makes sure the tree makes it to Middle Earth.
That's ironic, isn't it?
Yeah. And poor Antamo doesn't have a chance against Muriel.
I mean, however everything else shakes out, Elendil's getting my vote all the way through on this, just because I really, really love the character. But yeah, I think Elendil. I'm gonna go father-son matchup, and then I'm gonna go husband-wife matchup.
Yeah, I really think the White Tree has a good chance.
Well, that's true. They're not married yet. Sorry, spoiler alert. Crap. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about the entirety, the Balrog has a chance to go deep, I think. And I think
the White Tree, I think, has a good chance. Do not discount.
Yeah, the White Tree, I'm not good. Yeah, I'm not. That's why I'm worried about it. I don't think it's going to be Elendil against Isildur. I think it's going to be Elendil versus.
I would not be surprised if the White Tree wins. I'm going to vote for Isildur again, even though. But
he's dead.
Do we have the can we go back and now do we have all 4 of them so we can look at them all?
I don't. I didn't create that graphic. So
okay. So can we go back and just do a real quick recap of all scan back to each of the
yeah, if you'll let me just
new slides.
Yeah, I'm just going to go fly.
So we'll be posting the updated bracket tomorrow on the OneRing.net, where you can vote, and you'll have another 2 or 3 days to vote in the next round. This would be not Sweet 16, the Rough 32. What do they call it, Josh?
They don't actually have a thing. It's basically second round. It's round 2. It doesn't have a nickname until you get to 16.
Yeah, when they were playing games, they kind of screwed everything up. It used to be you had the 64, then 32, then you got 16, 8, 4, 2.
Yeah.
So we're at the.
And so 32 never had. It was just round 2.
Yeah.
The Thunderous 32.
The Rings of Power 32. The Thunderous. Yeah.
32. So here's Division 1.
I'm going to vote for the Balrog. I mean, he's probably going to get worked hard by Galadriel, but the
Yeah.
Balrog, as I stated earlier with my rubber ducky friend that's still in the room, he's
Whereas I'm
he's-
thinking Durin 4 beats his dad just because we're so much more emotionally attached to him.
he's my
But
favorite.
both
We've got a
Durins
lot of-
get beat by the Balrog eventually. I think the Balrog has a good chance of going all the way.
I mean, I'm going to vote for the Balrog because I love Balrogs, and as Jim has heard many times in our podcast episodes, how much I love the Balrog. But I mean, Galadriel coming out of this would be no shock at all. And I've said this we've talked, as some of us have talked like privately and stuff. Her portrayal of Galadriel and hearing her in the trailers and stuff talk is actually eventually what really sold me coming out of Comic-Con and why I really got excited for the show. I thought she looked the part, sounded the part. She felt like she was the part, if that makes sense. And so I wouldn't be upset if Galadriel beat the Balrog. But that being said, she's still not getting my vote.
This is such a strong region. I mean, think about look ahead. So it's going to be probably Durin 4 against either the Balrog or Galadriel, and it's probably going to be Giza and Elrond. And then you're going to have those.
Yeah. So you're discounting Gilgalad because you got the Gilgadaddies and stuff like that out there. You've got all there's a lot of Gilgalad fans out there, but I do think Gisa's she's gonna sing her way to the top.
We'll see. Here we go on to the Mordorians and Southrons. Oops.
Here we go.
Adar is strong in this one.
Adar is definitely strong. I think it's going to be Adar and Arondir, which is going to be a perfect matchup right there.
But then they got to go up against probably, I don't know, Halbrand? Bronwyn?
Yeah. Bronwyn or Theo? What do you think? Theo or Bronwyn?
I think
I'm going to vote for Theo myself. I want a Theo Wrath matchup in the next round.
I want Bronwyn to go through so that her and Arondir can be up against each other. Let's go for that elf human competition. Although obviously that means Bronwyn would have to beat Sauron, and that's not going to happen.
And Adar is going to have to go down too. So
we'll see.
Oh yeah, Adar. Yeah, no, that's a tough one.
It is tough. So here we go on the Harfoots, probably the weakest bracket.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're dang right.
Norian Sadok against Poppy and the Stranger. I think it's going to be Nori against the Stranger.
I think you're right. That would be an interesting matchup.
That would be my guess as well.
And then finally, our last bracket here. Elendil's looking strong.
Yeah.
White Tree.
Yeah, this looks good. We're getting a lot of comments on Twitter and on Discord, and we love to see your comments on Facebook every time we post this. But a lot of people really love this first round. A lot of comments on how fun it was to see some of these matchups, and just to acknowledge the breadth of characters we've already started to appreciate and grow to love for Rings of Power. I mean, what an accomplishment to put together the first season and have so many memorable characters that not once in this show did anyone say, who?
Well,
and the fact that we actually, aside from a couple, Fireflies, but Beric belonged in there.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Shout out to the Unhinged Fellowship.
Yeah, but having just watched like the first episode, I was like, oh man, with that meteor and the Ents, we totally could have just put it in as the Ent family. But that's just me.
Well, I think the what the bracket for I think shows us in general too. Kind of Justin was kind of getting that is that for all the kind of grief that there was about the show going into it. There was a lot. I mean, you're dealing with. I mean, obviously they're dealing with the foundation that the professor laid down, and that makes it a lot easier to do stuff with. But there was also some creative, license taken. But that being said, I think it goes to show you just how good a job overall the first season really was with the quality of characters, the quality of acting, the sets, the design, and I think it should make most of us, I think, feel at least somewhat good going into season 2. Obviously, we haven't seen trailers or anything like that to kind of get an idea. You can always judge off of that, but yeah, I really I thought it was fun voting. It was cool to kind of sit back and think about how much did you really like that character? How much does the story of that character, both in this and the books and stuff, how much does that mean to you, and how much can you mesh the two together and mix those two and create something? And so like Elendil, for me is just one of those characters that I really, really love, because I love the Gondorian culture and the history that goes into it and everything. And it's fun getting to see his story play out, even if it's obviously going to take some liberties and some stuff like that. But you kind of get more depth, and you get,
Well, and also to see it as a family dynamic at a time when the son and daughter, my sister. I'm gonna have to go in a minute, so and because we have to coordinate who's going to WonderCon and when. Okay, so seeing the dynamic of a family who we see at the end of their lives, obviously, but we also see them as full leaders, king and the prince, basically, who also then becomes a king. And so we see that end point, and what they have to do to get to that end point. But there's still, it's like, okay, it's like a map. You could take this road or you could take that road.
That's why I said earlier about with Isildur. I mean, why he, partially he follows the power of the ring and stuff. But I think there's going to be, between what we know, just visually speaking, you're going to see kind of why ultimately the power of the ring was able to get him. I think there's going to be things given in the show that make sense from a visual perspective, that why he was like, no, we can't destroy this. We need to keep this just in case we've sacrificed, yada yada yada. I think it's going to make sense, or at least it is to me in my head when I'm thinking.
Well, and just like at some point in time, I'm hoping one of those new actors is an Aryan.
I hope one of them is the voice of an Ent. I want season 2 to get crazy with Ents and Bombadils and talking eagles. Like, let's get crazy.
Not Tom Bombadil.
No.
I know. Well, this has been fun. Season 1 has so many characters, and they're all memorable in their own way, and they're even like I said, the Unhinged Fellowship. Even the horses are getting their fan base, and their fan bases are growing.
Yeah, well, I mean, Aragorn's, Arod, and the horses. A couple of the horses had a lot of Snowmane. So you had horses with names, because they had names in the books.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't wait to, and we have WonderCon coming up. So since I'm going to finish my rewatch, because I'm taking notes, so I can actually actually have a discussion about, oh, I just noticed this because I went back and watched and I saw this little detail or whatever.
Yeah,
right,
totally.
Well, I think we're about to wrap up. Justin, we'll hand it back to you again. Voting will start around 10 in the morning tomorrow. Look for wherever you look for One Ring Connections on the social media.
Yeah, we'll be posting it at theonering.net. I'm sure we'll be putting it on all the socials, and it'll be a new round, so you can your vote starts again. That was the first round. Now you can vote as much as you want, as little as you want.
You have to click on each bracket, so don't just once.
Each bracket is its own voting form. So all the instructions will be there tomorrow. And then we'll see you guys at WonderCon on Sunday for a wonderful panel in person. Can't wait to see some wonderful faces and meet up with some beautiful friends. Thank you for putting this together, Jim, and thank you for Kirsten and Kalasuri and everybody putting this together. And vote your heart out, and we'll see you in a couple days when we announce the next round, the Sweet 16 winners.
And I'm sure I'll be championing somebody.
There you go.
I hope all of you are at least out there championing at least one or two of the, well, it depends on whether or not, for Justin, most of his didn't make it through, it seems.
Yeah,
So.
I did not win a lot. Hey, there's
Somebody's going for the Balrog.
The ring bearing Balrog is a terrifying thought. And with that terrifying thought, we'll let you guys go. Thanks for watching the Middle Earth March Madness results show for round 1. We'll see you in a few days.
All right.